business taxes. Was stressing about all the time and all the money you spent on your taxes.
This is my bill?
Now Business Taxes is a TurboTax small business expert who does your taxes for you and offers year-round advice at no additional cost, so you can keep more money in your business. Now this is taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com/business. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on the immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here, too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late-night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Sack Dude. Sack Dude.
Radio.
Sack Dude. Sack Dude.
Radio.
Sack.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America. In America.
Into the silo.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Sackheads Radio Show. It is the 18th of February, 2015. I am your host, Sackhead Sean, along with the other host, Sackhead Clint. Sitting on the board, as always, is Sackhead Sacco, looking as pretty can be.
Oh, you noticed I was working out.
Yeah, no, it's impressive.
I've been really working on my right boob.
Just the right one?
Yeah.
Okay.
You didn't notice my left one was smaller?
No, I didn't. We'll have to go with the annual company physical.
Why is your left arm smaller, like your left forearm?
Because I do everything on my right.
Okay.
When we do our annual company physical, I'll double check that because that's probably something that needs. Thank you to the exceptional one, Ken McClinton, who had me on the show earlier this evening, talking a little bit about our show on the network and all the upcoming things. Very, very excited for Freedom Fest. Very, very excited to the changes that are coming here to the SHR family, if you will. Even if you won't, we're still changing it. I don't care what you say. You're not the boss of me. How are you, sir?
Spring training started today.
I'm awesome.
So I'm doing very, very well.
Again, I tell everybody, baseball is just that thing, man. It just puts that little hitch in your giddy up, if you will.
A couple surprises for me.
Uh-huh.
Number one, the Giants put Tim Lincecum as one of their starting rotation pitchers.
Very, very surprising.
Surprise number two,
Yes.
Barry Zito is back with the Oakland Athletics organization on a AAA
trial basis,
contract.
Yes. Yes, that's very, very surprising to me. He hasn't pitched since 2013, I think.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe he worked out some stuff. And you know, all joking
I'm sure he's
aside-
pitched since then,
Right.
but just not for anybody.
Well, you know, you made the joke about Lincecum, and he's one of those pitchers. He came out, he was a fireballer, and all he would do was throw heat. Then he hurt himself, and he has kind of reinvented himself a little bit.
A little bit.
He's
either red hot
or ice cold,
or he just gets shelled.
Yeah, ice cold. So I'm very, very excited about it.
About Lincecum?
No, about spring training in general.
Oh.
About Lincecum. I'm not excited about anyone with a mullet. That's not true. I love my mulleted friends. Oh, my thoughts and prayers go out to the my friends back on the East Coast. Global warming, huh? LOL. Who 8 feet of snow this month in Boston, and now they're about to hit with subarctic temperatures over the next couple weeks. It is. I'll tell you, I've talked to a bunch of friends back there all the time. It's a disaster. They have nowhere to put the snow.
Well, that's why it's not global warming anymore. It's climate change.
It's climate change because it's not really global warming, is it?
It's not. The climate changed here today.
It
was a blistering 66 degrees today.
But it was cool in the morning.
Here where we are.
And then the climate changed to the afternoon.
Right, and now it's changing again to becoming colder in the evening again.
Right, and the other weird thing is there's stars out which there wasn't earlier today. I don't know if that's weather related or not.
It's atmospheric change, which is going to be the next big leftist movement, I think, and we should start that now. You heard it here first on the Sackheads Radio Show.
I think that's dude. Hey, Sacco, can we work on copywriting that atmospheric change?
Yeah, before the left grabs it and starts running with it.
From Sacco and my email, a huge busy show tonight, so our little general jackassery is going to be limited this evening. The first couple minutes of Tom.
He's been demoted to a colonel.
He got busted down. You know what's funny is you remember shows like, and we talk about this.
Colonel Child Play.
Yes.
Okay.
And MASH is one of those shows growing up, and no politics involved in my head when I watch that show. There's not. It is what it is. I always thought it was an amazing show. I always thought that they just was a lot of fun, especially the early episodes were extremely funny.
Like the first few.
Yeah. And
there were some characters there that weren't there later on, weren't there, if I remember right?
And that's the funniest thing. And is Ken still? I hope Ken's still in the chat room and listening, because I want to make sure that Ken's here for this. There was
Go ahead.
There was a character at the beginning in the first 6 or 7 seasons.
No, episodes.
Episodes. I'm sorry, episodes. You're right. So anyhow, you delivered the cheeseburgers, and it was pretty good. We were able to dodge the helicopters again.
Which was amazing.
Sacco's got a jamming device for radar that he was able now, and a rape whistle. But for whatever reason, it's worked the last few times. So we apologize for that interruption. Getting into topics. What's our first topic tonight, Clint?
2A block.
2A block.
So there is a man in New Jersey, and he is a retired school teacher, 72 years old, and he is facing a maximum of 10 years in state prison.
Must have been a felon in possession of a...
With a minimum mandatory sentence of 3.5 years.
What did this felon, this evil person...
This heinous crime was the fact that he had a concealed pistol.
Hardy Fiber Cement Siding is proven to withstand water, pests, and fire better than wood-based siding. And it looks better while doing it. Hardy Siding has been chosen for 10 million homes and counting. See the proof at jameshardy.com.
Not just any pistol, mind you. This bloodthirsty monster had a 1700s era Queen Anne flintlock muzzleloader pistol.
Oh no! Is that the high capacity one?
Yes, the one you have to
the foregrip.
The one you have to remove the barrel of to put the ball in, and then replace the barrel and prime it. Yeah, that one. So apparently he got
Where did you
stopped.
Where do you put the bayonet lug?
I don't know. Apparently he got stopped on a traffic stop, and he was on the New Jersey border, and he got stopped, and he went to the glove box to retrieve his registration, and wrapped in a cloth was this vintage collector's item, this antique flintlock, Queen Anne flintlock. And for whatever reason, this sheriff's deputy decided to arrest him for it. Because
Are you absolutely kidding me right
New
now?
Jersey law does not differentiate between antique firearms or collector's firearms. So because it was a pistol and it was concealed, it was a felony, and the officer could not let a felon go, and he took him into custody. Now, apparently, this case, this took place in Cumberland County, and Cumberland County apparently filed charges.
Really?
Yes. So the guy wasn't arrested. He actually gave a statement. He wasn't arrested right away. But one of the undersheriffs said to the officer who apparently called and said, "Hey, what do I do with this guy? This is what I got. I mean, this really is." And I don't know the exact conversation. I'm kind of paraphrasing here. But the undersheriff said, "Well, let him go. It's 250 years old."
Right.
But the sheriff apparently overrode that and said, "No, we have to arrest him." The next morning, deputies knocked on his door. Wouldn't
Stupid law works. We got to prosecute you. Do you mind coming in and talking to us for a little bit? Oh, okay.
Right.
Leave the gun at home. We'll get a key from you if it's okay and go get it ourselves. Just leave it on the table or something.
Right. I don't want you to have to like break the barrel down and put the ball in and then prime it and come in and shoot the place up.
We'll work on that.
Right.
You know, this is
So the prosecutor's office is.
What? Is it our internet? So, you got to tell me, if you're a 79-year-old, 72?
No, 72. But here's the bad part is he was a teacher for 35 years, something like that. If he's convicted, he can lose his pension. Like 3.5 years in prison, a minimum sentence. He loses his pension because he's a felon at this point.
I didn't even think about that.
This is ridiculous.
This is an atrocity. And listen, most states have an antique firearms exemption.
Even California does.
Of all places, yes. You have a lot of states that have that exemption.
What is this guy going to do? Like take the barrel off, load a ball, put the powder in the pan, fire that bad boy off, reload again? And I mean, how do
it's considered high capacity because of the size of the balls that it takes.
Right. The size of the balls it takes to prosecute a case like this.
Well, this is, you know what? I am just disgusted. Listen.
Did you just
I love how proud you were right there. You put your hand up in the air for that one. Oh, we need a camera in the studio for this.
We do need a camera in the studio.
You fist bumped that joke to yourself.
And then Sacco's crotch grab, along with his devil horns with his fingers, was even better.
And he yelled, "Rock on."
Right.
And listen, folks, this is, we talk about all the time when there's intelligent legislation and horrible legislation. I'm a big believer that states and legislation, both federally and states, shouldn't just sit around and make laws when there's nothing to do. But you also need to legislate intelligently. When you have an antique weapon, that was an antique that shows up, and it wasn't even pulled out. Like, it just happened to have been there.
Right. He bought it to put in his collection.
Right.
It's not like this guy had a case of ammo in the trunk for it. Right.
God help him if he'd gone to the store and bought ball bearings for a different project.
Right.
Right? He was storing ammunition in large amounts. Oh, it was ball bearings. I had to repack the bearings in my car.
Right, and what kind of
Whatever,
ammo
pal.
does that take? Ball?
Right.
But it's not, it's this, wait, what?
What's all this gunpowder you got? Those are fireworks. Yeah, but there's gunpowder in there, isn't there? But it's not even the same type of thing. We know what you're on to, active shooter.
Right.
Don't call me that.
Is there an issue with criminals doing like robberies and stuff with flintlock pistols in New Jersey?
I kind of wish there was at this point, because at least it would make sense.
Right.
This would make way more sense if they had a brash of people in colonial dress running into stores and robbing them in a tricorn hat.
Wait a second.
With a flintlock pistol.
Wait a second. You're onto something.
Yes.
This is why this case is getting prosecuted right here, Sean. And I can't believe I didn't see this before. Clearly, this man has in his possession somewhere. And I think these sheriff's deputies should write a search warrant for this. For tricorn hats and other paraphernalia related to the Patriot movement. Clearly, this man is a Tea Party and is planning some sort of insurrection using traditional firearms to overthrow the American government in the way our founders did. This man is an extremist. And now that we cracked this case, we can put this violent uprising to
Don't let
rest.
Harry Reid find out about this. Do you have any statements to say, sir? 2 arms! 2 arms! And we're back on the Sackheads radio show. Thank you so much, so much to those listening for hanging with us. We're moving right along. Our news,
Sacco is fighting the internet.
literally as a whole. It's Sacco against the world right now, and Sacco's going to win, I think.
He just did win.
Oh, man. Sacco, thank you again for all your hard work, because I know this is just so miserable sometimes for you. Ken has a good idea. I guess this is how they do it in the hood. Listen, he says, jump the fence, climb the pole, and use your neighbor's internet cable like a normal human being. That's all well and good. The only problem is we don't have, if you will, the canary for the coal mine to know which one's electricity and which one's cable.
Right.
So we're not going to take that risk. At least until Sacco finishes what he's doing, and then we'll get him up the pole as quick as we can.
Right.
So anyhow, Terror block. A lot happened in the world of ISIS this week. 21 Coptic Christians. 21 Coptic Christians were beheaded in Egypt by ISIS. There's a video of them on the beach with what's apparently Coptic Christians lined up. There was a speech given, and then they were beheaded. Completely horrible, despicable act. Just further goes to show the barbaric actions of these Muslim extremists, of these animals. These people who are not perverts of Islam, but they're just perverts of mankind, I think would be a good way to put it. This is the type of action, when they do things like this, that begs, in my opinion, for them to be annihilated from the face of the planet. This is the type of action that, in my opinion, the entire world should be outraged and infuriated, and they're not. And it's funny because this isn't the first time we've seen Coptic Christians beheaded. Back in 2013, 2 Coptic Christians were beheaded after an altercation, and a man by the name of Yusuf Ibrahim shot and killed the 2 men during an argument and then beheaded them. I want to see where in the Middle East this happened. I'm trying to look here. Oh, it's Jersey City that this happened. The victims were 25-year-old Hani Tawados and 27-year-old Amgad Khan, 2 Coptic Christians from Egypt who were known to Ibrahim. And he is, I believe, and they never mentioned his religion, amazingly.
That's weird. Why not?
Article,
But he was probably Christian.
He was a Muslim.
Because he was violent. He was a Muslim.
Yeah, so it's not uncommon for them to behead Coptic Christians. And, especially now in Egypt, ISIS is starting to spread into Egypt. Egypt is responding, much in the way of Jordan did. And they're starting to launch bombs as well and launch planes and sorties and all that stuff. So another country that gets it, and another country that understands that this is creeping Sharia, if you will, and this is something that needs to be dealt with. I know, I forget her name, but somebody was speaking today of the federal government. What the heck was her name again?
The State Department spokeswoman?
Yeah, it's not Saudi.
Marie Harf?
Oh, that's it. They were talking today about how to stop ISIS, and essentially she said, in no uncertain terms, that ISIS can't be stopped with bombs and fighting. That war will never win. You'll never win the war that way. Yeah,
well, she said it the other day, and then she defended it.
Double down.
Again. She basically said, because she got a bunch of pushback from that basically, longer term, we cannot kill every terrorist around the world, nor should we try. How do you get to the root cause of this? Look, it might be too nuanced an argument for some. Like I've seen over the past 24 hours, some of the commentary out there, but it's really the smart way that Democrats, Republicans, military commanders, our partners in the Arab world think we need to combat this. So we're too stupid to understand what she's talking about.
Yes.
Is essentially what she said. And so her thing is, listen, there's economic reasons. We have to go to the deeper root causes of this. It's poor economic conditions in the long run. Airstrikes are short term. We need to really go after the root causes. We can't just kill every terrorist.
Uh-huh.
Hey, so do you think this broad understands that we have been fighting Islamic extremist terrorists literally since the founding of our country? Do you think she understands that?
No.
Because
Well, she knows. She just doesn't want that to come out.
maybe they were attacking us when we were no longer under protection of the British Navy and enslaving our people and so forth and killing them. The Tripoli pirates we're referring to, which were Muslim terrorists of the time. And maybe it's because they had poor economic conditions back then also.
Oh.
Why didn't George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and John Adams think about this
Fools.
and give some kind of jobs program or really try to get to the
Well, you know
root
what?
cause?
They were
Because,
such rich aristocrats, so why did they just give them half their money?
well, we did pay tribute to them for a little bit, but here's the problem. John Adams and we've talked about it before on the show, John Adams and Thomas Jefferson were in England, and the Pasha was there. And he asked, hey, why do you enslave our people and attack us? And the Pasha basically said, well, it's written in our book, which would be the Quran, that it's our duty to make war on the non-believisms, enslave them and kill them,
Their
essentially.
book, 50 Shades of Grey.
And no, different. This was
Okay.
way back then. It wasn't written yet. So Jefferson and Adams actually wrote a report and submitted this. And that's the reason Jefferson bought a copy of the Quran, is that he wanted to understand his enemy. And it was Jefferson who unleashed the Marines on the shores of Tripoli to crush him because he got sick of paying tribute to him and knew they needed to be stopped. And force was what they understood. Do you think Marie Harf, and I said broad because I think it's funny, do you think she understands that history? I don't.
No, I think she understands it, but that it doesn't
I don't
matter
think
to
she
them.
does.
No,
she probably had some Harvard, some Ivy League education where they don't teach that.
No, I see.
And she won't take it upon herself to learn, I'm guessing.
No, I disagree. I think she knows damn well the history, but I don't think it matters.
How many people know that history, do you think?
Not enough, but I think.
And
that-
why would you think that somebody
but
in the government
I
would?
think they plan to defend against that because that could hurt their cause, and we know what their cause is: to do as little as humanly
and
possible.
to give more money for jobs programs.
Right. So,
Over there, not here.
and you know, it's so funny because you talk about jobs. What's the biggest economic boost in the Middle East? What's the one thing that they export regularly that they have over there? Not
hatred.
terrorism.
Oh.
Not hatred. This is an actual product that brings them money. ISIS actually.
Oh, they
controls some-
import blades because they cut a lot of things.
Well, right. Knife sharpening classes would be a popular one.
Okay.
Steel for I think that would be good.
Oh, organs. ISIS is harvesting organs now. They've been graves found that they were with surgical incisions and bodies with kidneys missing and so forth. So organs. I'm going to say organs.
Okay, that's up there. But what's the thing that you dead dinosaurs? Think dead dinosaurs.
Dead dinosaurs. Emissions.
Oil.
Oh,
Oil.
gosh. How did I don't know how I missed that one.
Well, the only real big export out of the Middle East is oil
And hatred.
and hatred. But I mean actual sellable product. You can't sell hatred as
Oh,
much.
sure you can. ISIS is doing a great job at it.
They're not selling it. They're giving it away for free.
Okay.
That's why they're not making as much money off of it as they should.
That makes sense.
But I got to ask honestly, though, what economic growth do you honestly think that they could possibly have? And there's not a lot of product out there. They could sell some dates. They do have some agriculture, but there's not outside of Dubai. But that's all built on oil.
Mm-hmm.
How did they find the oil in the Middle East? It wasn't the leaders of the Middle East that found the oil. It was the Western world.
Some kid trying to dig to China because he heard that rumor also.
It was the Western world. It was the Westerners that went over in the 30s and 40s and were able to find the oil and help them develop it.
What I want to know is...
What's the one? Wait, I'm not done yet.
Oh, okay.
What's the one thing that this president refuses to expand drilling of in this country?
Hatred.
No, he doesn't actually. He permits that.
He
left
does.
and right.
He
He
does
actually
expand
issues
that
that
one.
permit for free.
What does he refuse to expand on? Border security.
Oil.
Oh, how do I miss that
I
again?
don't know. You keep.
Man,
going
I
along
am
when
not.
you
Can
get
we
back.
talk about the Constitution? Because I am not good at this other stuff.
It's amazing. He's already starting to throw as much money over there as he can because he won't allow the oil drilling.
He's got a
here.
great arm.
He
I see what you did there, because pitchers and catchers started today, and he threw the money over there. I see what you did there.
So, this broad comes out, and she was like, "Oh well, if we just it's economic, and if we just got them jobs, then they would stop fighting and be angry because then they would have money." Here's a little.
Hang on. Here's what she says: if we can help these countries work at the root causes of this, what makes these 17-year-old kids pick up an AK-47 instead of trying to start a business? Hatred.
Well, it's simple. It's the same reason why drug dealers in this country do what they do.
Look, hang on. I'm going to put this in simple arguments that this broad can understand. Okay, sweetheart, honey, poo-poo,
Toots.
listen, toots. You know how you like to indoctrinate our children through Common Core and through the educational system to get them to think your way and to get them to become more progressive and think that the United States is a big evil country and all these other things? Honey, sweetie, Snookums, they do that over there too. They use propaganda just like the left does.
What?
And they get these kids, just like you get the kids to hate America.
Yep.
They get these kids to hate America also.
Yep.
It's just you want them to hate America and then like plant flowers and hug trees and use cars that don't really run on gas that they use as Flintstone power or something. I don't know. They actually raise people also to hate America, so you kind of have a common goal. Mm-hmm. It's just that
They're all in it together.
they do it in a more violent way. And I understand you'd like them to hate America in a nonviolent way.
Right.
But they can't. That's just not their culture. Why are you so intolerant of their culture? You are from a party of tolerance and love, and you're supposed to love and support their culture, and that's what their culture is. It's raising bloodthirsty killers to hate us and to kill us. Why are you so intolerant of them? Why can't you? Why do you have to change somebody at what they are and try and get them to start a business? Why do you want them to be some evil capitalist? What are you?
Let's think about this insanity for a second, right? Put that AK-47 down and start a business. I got a business. I kill people who disagree with me, and I take whatever they have.
Right.
It keeps working. You know how much crap I have? An M1 Abrams tank I took from the Iraqis. What am I going to be able to sell to buy that?
Right.
Oh, what do you mean I can't? It's the drug dealer mentality. You can offer all the jobs in the world, but they're going to take the easiest route. It takes hard work to start a business and be successful. And you know what?
And even if they started a business, they didn't build that.
Right. The Americans built that.
Right. But you don't want us to start a business here. Why would you want them to start a business there?
But at the end of the day, let's be honest. They don't care about that. Their entire system in the Muslim world and the Middle East is based on power and strength. And those who are in power are in charge, and then they have everything. And those who don't agree or are weak are murdered. That's the way they do it. Look at Boko Haram in Africa right now.
I don't know who that is.
Nobody does, because nobody talks about Boko Haram.
Right.
At all. Like,
exactly.
It never happens.
Is that like a Baccarat game in Vegas?
It might as well be.
What'd you win your money on? Boko Haram?
Oh, yeah, no, I won a ton of money on Boko Haram. You wouldn't believe this. You know, I was on quite a Boko Haram run the other night, and you wouldn't...
Nobody knows who that is.
Right, because we don't talk about it. We refuse, the left, and I say we as a nation and the left, refuses to identify these people for their actions. And then when it does get to the forefront, when you have 21 Coptic Christians beheaded, when you have a Jordanian pilot set afire, when you have an Iraqi village that had 41 people set on fire, burned and murdered by ISIS.
When you had children being crucified.
Yes.
Being thrown off of buildings.
Yes, absolutely. If you're a gay man in the Middle East, you want to complain about the left, the right rather, they're throwing people off buildings if they suspect they're gay.
Right.
These are the people. You think all of a sudden these idiots are going to turn around and open up a cheese shop? What the hell? Why would you even say that? At some point,
it's ignorance.
This country has to wake the hell up. Look at Belgium this weekend.
Well, yeah, yes.
Oh, well, you know, he wasn't really, it was a last minute thing. It doesn't matter why he did what he did. He murdered a guy who was he shot at a guy who was a Swiss artist, who is very vocal against Islam, and then he went to a Jewish synagogue where a security officer died and shot it again. He was an Islamist. This is exactly what they're calling for. This quote-unquote lone wolf attacks, as
Yes.
we've been calling it. These are the things that they want to happen. You know why they like the lone wolf attacks
Because-
versus the big attacks?
Very difficult to track. Very difficult to
I mean,
stop.
Well, but even before all of that, or after all that's done, it's a blurb in the news. It's one person who kills 1 or 2 people and goes on. And right now, it's just a flash in the pan. It keeps Islam out of the mainstream. It keeps people from waking up.
See, I think they like it because you can't stop it.
Well, no, it's impossible to stop.
You have somebody who has this ideation, who has these things. I mean, unless you really catch it at the right stage, very, very difficult to detect a lone wolf attack.
Right.
Now, I want to know if you give Chris Matthews credit. Because Ms. Harf was talking and she was saying, we're killing a lot of them, and we're going to keep killing more of them, but we cannot win this war by killing them. First of all, that's not true. That's how you win wars.
Exactly.
I mean,
Whose battle plan is it to win a war without killing people?
right. We're going to fight this war. We're going to fight the Nazis. How are you going to fight the Nazis? You going to kill them? Oh, hell no. Why would we kill them? This is
We're
war.
gonna get them jobs.
You're right. We're going to kill. This is war. We don't
They
kill
have a
people.
job to kill people.
Jesus. Well, Chris Matthews, she says we need to go after the root causes that leads people to join these groups, whether it's lack of opportunity for jobs, and then Chris Matthews interrupted her. He says there's always going to be poor people. There's always going to be poor Muslims.
It's very true.
It is.
You're never going to stop it.
How off the rails do you have to be to have Chris Matthews interrupt you and say, hey, so you know there's always going to be poor people and poor Muslims, right? Like, you're kind of off base here. If Chris Matthews is insinuating that you're off base,
You're way off base.
you are way off base. Because Chris Matthews is, like, when he's supposedly on third base, he's in right field. I mean, he's pretty far off base. And if he's telling you you're off base,
You're pretty
that
far
is,
off base.
you are in the complete wrong ballpark, probably in the parking lot somewhere.
I don't know what their thought process is. I know they're trying to downplay it. Listen, I said it before. This president asked for this declaration that he got, and he didn't want it. He was forced to do it. He has to make it look like he's doing something. They're not going to fight the fight that needs to be fought because he is not going to get us into another war because he's worried about his legacy. He doesn't want to be the president of war, blah, 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 blah. So he's willing to sacrifice human lives at home and abroad due to his inaction. And this is the BS spin that they put on it to try to mask what the real problem is. So Americans who are waking up to reality, I saw a poll that 55% of Americans think we need boots on the ground in order to stop the attack.
We do, and we need soldiers in those boots.
Yeah, well, yeah, not just boots either. Nice try, Obama.
Right. Yeah, we know what you meant. Americans want boots on the ground. Airdrop some pairs of boots.
Right, send them in sneakers.
Right.
No boots on the ground, just sneakers.
Right.
The reality is this White House will do everything they can at risk to everybody but themselves to face the problem that they allowed to grow. Remember when ISIS was a JV squad? You remember that, right? Everyone remembers when ISIS was a JV squad. Oh, and then all of a sudden,
war's won.
right? The war's won, and then it was like, oh, the Iraqis are going to have to stand on their own, and we can't defend everything for them. There'll be no more Americans sent. Oh, okay, well, we'll send 1,500, 4,000. Doesn't matter. Oh, you know, ISIS is on the run, and they're being degraded, and their ideals are bankrupt. Oh, but wait, they're killing people with our machinery and weapons over there because they took it from the Iraqis who were overrun by ISIS because we left too early and we were not able
To keep your microphone in the stand.
to prepare them appropriately. All of these things are what's going on in the world, and the State Department's belief is to get them friggin' jobs. It's like hug a thug.
It's
Hire
worse
a
than
felon.
Hugga. You know what? I would love.
Hire a jihadist.
I want to see one of the members of the media during one of these State Department's press conferences where Ms. Harf is talking, where she says something ridiculous like that, and they just chuckle, go, "That's cute, sweetheart. That's really cute," and then get up and walk out.
I bet you if they yelled, "Look out, Joe's behind you," she would run off stage so fast, so quick, you wouldn't even know what happened.
This is ridiculous to me. Even for somebody in this administration to say something so ridiculous, and then to think the American people are stupid, and insinuate it's just too nuanced. It's just too nuanced for us to understand. It angers me. We're up against a break. When we come back, we have the state segment. We have a couple reports on some issues at the state level that I'm kind of excited to talk about. We'll be back on the SHR Radio Network.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. You didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying half of the stupid pro.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
This is Tammy Jackson, inviting you to join me on The Tammy Jackson Show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on the 405radio.com. Put down that remote and tune into the show that covers politics, guns and the Second Amendment, religious liberties, sanctity of life, the military, and more. I host newsworthy guests and work hard to be a conservative radio show that's not like all the others. So save Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific for me, Tammy Jackson, on the 405media.com.
Who listens to the Andrea Kaye Show? Let's find out as we eavesdrop on listener Roger Johnson in Encinitas.
You know, if our policy is going to be bring any child who comes across the border and says coordination, we have to take them in.
Okay, so apparently Roger fell asleep in the middle of my brilliant political tirade, and now he plans to sue me because I put him on the air, sleeping. Obviously, he's a liberal.
Snoring, not an option while listening to The Andrea Kaye Show, Tuesday mornings at 11 on Financial News and Talk.
You know I'm right. Y'all know I'm right.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
And we're back here on the Sackheads Radio Show on the SHR Media Network. Thank you so much for being with us this evening. So we have a couple things out of the States we want to talk about, eh?
Yeah. So there's a kind of a push right now for the states to call a constitutional convention under Article 5 of the Constitution. Basically, amendments to the U.S. Constitution can be ratified by Congress or by the states if 2/3 of the states petition Congress to call a constitutional convention. After that, any amendment proposed at that convention has to be ratified by 3/4 of the states. So current count, 50 states, 38 of the states would have to pass or ratify that amendment in order for it to be legitimate. Now, Congress will never call a constitutional convention.
Oh, no.
They have way too much power. They're enjoying way too much power. There is no way they're going to do this.
Right, and now that there's direct election to senators and the states aren't represented
anymore, it's not going to happen.
Right.
But there are several state-level campaigns that are calling for this convention. And it's actually picking up a lot of support. And there are two fairly high-ranking Republicans that are endorsing this movement. One's from Oklahoma, one's from Ohio. Senator Tom Coburn from Oklahoma, and Governor John Kasich of Ohio, the governor of Ohio.
Big name governor.
Yeah. Look, I'm excited about this. And what they want to accomplish is their primary goal is to pass a constitutional amendment that will require a balanced federal budget. Spending could not exceed revenue.
Wow, that's a concept, huh?
Yeah.
That's an amazing concept that every American has to live every single day.
Yep. Alaska, Florida, and Georgia have passed resolutions supporting the convention. 25 additional states are currently considering this group. And look, Coburn nailed it. He said, look, our founders anticipated the federal government might get out of control, and they gave us a constitutional mechanism to rein it in. And that's under Article 5. That's huge.
Well, and it's often ignored. We're so used to the states and the individuals not having the power at that level that I think Article 5 is constantly overlooked. People don't understand the value of it, the importance of it, and the need for it, especially in this situation. Look, we had the president submit his budget to Congress a couple weeks ago, which is just loaded with money, just loaded with more money than we could possibly make. We've watched the deficit explode under this president. I think we're up to $18 trillion now, more than any other president ever.
Yep.
And most combined still don't cross that. So the need to control government spending has been and will be on everybody's minds until something is officially and correctly done.
Right, and now it's going to be very difficult to get the 34-state threshold they need because they're going to have some Democratic states or Democratic-leaning legislatures on board. And I think they can do it. Look, there are some Blue Dog Democrats that are more fiscally conservative. I am a little disappointed in Senator Mike Lee. He's the Tea Party-backed candidate who got elected in 2010. And, he's kind of skeptical of this whole constitutional convention of the states because he says he's concerned that there's a potential for creating a barrage of bad amendments. First of all, yes. Is that a potential? Can you have states introduce...
You can have Congress do that tomorrow.
Right. You can have states introduce a ridiculous amount of amendments, but you still have to have that threshold that vote for it in order for it to go through.
Correct.
So if it is that batshit crazy, to use a term we haven't used on the show in a long time, it's not going to reach that threshold.
Well,
So look, if people want to put forth whatever amendments they put forth,
everybody
fine.
gets a free helper monkey.
The states have the right to do that.
I would love that, actually.
Right?
Right. Of course they can. It's constitutional.
So if it's constitutional, why is he against it?
Well, because, now that I've been in power for 4 years and I'm starting to see that we are kind of, we know what's best for the American people, then that's what we need to go with because you guys don't understand. Once you start having all these laws all willy-nilly, you lose power, and by you I mean us. And when the states rise up and take power away from the federal government, well, it creates a balance that we don't want. Is essentially what he's saying. And that I understand his point. Mm-hmm. I understand the message he's trying to relay. However, like you said, if that's what happens, that's what happens.
Right.
And it'll be a lesson learned for the country. I brought up helper monkeys, but, okay, let's say a bunch of states, we think everyone should get helper monkeys and everyone has to own at least one bottle of malt liquor in their cabinet, blah, blah, blah. Some ridiculous laws.
Sorry, Ken.
You're never going to get the support from the people in general for that. However, I think with something like a balanced budget and forbidding the spending of more than that is made, I think you will see a tremendous amount of support from the left and the right. I think
I don't know if you'd see a lot of support from the left.
I think now there may be arguments as to where to save that money.
Uh-huh.
You know, the left's going to go after military spending, the right's going to go after welfare programs. That's just how it happens.
But that's fine, right?
Let's have the conversation.
Have the conversation.
Exactly.
But spending cannot exceed revenue that we bring in. This constitutional amendment, this convention of the states, is supported by Sarah Palin, Mike Huckabee, Bobby Jindal,
the Sackheads,
radio show.
Yep.
Yeah. Sacco, he's still kind of up in the air about it.
Sacco's back and forth on this one.
Right.
You know, I flipped a coin the other day.
Sacco flipped a coin. And what did it say?
Heads.
You'll have to find out.
It said 25 cents U.S. Had a picture of some guy on the front of it. It was a big deal. I won.
Right. Now, Ken, I think, has started a movement in order to at this convention of states, I think he wants to repeal the 13th Amendment. I don't know why he would want to do that. I think this is maybe perhaps one of those weird things that Senator Lee was talking about happening, but there's no way I don't think anybody would let that happen. Do you?
Well, I don't know. You may have some on the left who think it needs to go away, and that way...
Because they like changing the Constitution, and why not just do that one?
Well, and you know
like
what?
Joe. Joe may have been quoted saying, 13th Amendment, who the hell needs that? 13's an unlucky number. Why did we outlaw slavery with the 13th Amendment? Was slavery so damn lucky? Outlawing it's obviously unlucky. That's why it's the 13th.
Maybe they'll repeal the 13th and replace it with something a little bit different. Like, oh, you know what? It's okay for people to be forced into servitude as long as it's for the federal government.
Oh, you're right.
No private person can own another person, but the federal government can own as many as they want.
And then what that would do is that would guarantee welfare.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Right.
Although you wouldn't then have to give welfare, you could just give food and clothing, because giving money would be more like a job.
Right, because it's servitude, so they're working.
Servitude, so it's just that you kind of serve the emperor, the king, the Congress, and you would just get housed and clothed and fed. I wonder if that's ever been tried before in history.
Huh.
I wonder how it worked out. We should try it here.
We already have it. It's called the progressive left.
Oh.
It's called Democratic voters.
Okay.
It's it's voluntary servitude. That's the most amazing part about it.
Right.
It's voluntary servitude.
Right.
There would be people that would jump on that tomorrow. All you have to do is make it do what the left does best. You make it sound better than it really is. You don't call it welfare, you call it assistance. You don't call it corrections or prisons, you call it rehabilitation. You just spice things up to meet your need. If they package that like the left packages everything else and sent it up, people would be signing up for servitude. They wouldn't even know what it was.
Right.
You know, servitude, that sounds great. What do I get? Free clothing, free food. Oh, and in their heads, they're like, oh, good, then I can make money on top of that, and blah, 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 blah. Let me sign up. People would voluntarily enter into servitude. It would happen.
Right. Do you know, by the way, who the first slave owner in the colonies was in Virginia? It's the year 1620, and his name was Anthony Johnson. Anthony Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
What a racist. For those of you who don't know Anthony Johnson, he was the first legal slave owner in the colonies.
Uh-huh.
So officially started slavery here.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know he was black?
Uh-huh.
How many people knew that? Why does that always get left out of the argument? I said left out. See what I did there? Because of the left and the
because it's
left
not
wing.
popular. How about a lot of the people that wanted to save the South the way it was were black landowners that owned slaves.
Right.
We talked about this on Ken's show when I was on Ken's show earlier tonight. How about all the Irish and English that were forced into slavery?
Yeah.
And brought over. They called it a different name. I can't remember what it was, but essentially they were slaves for minimum 7 years. Sometimes it was extended more often than not. Let's talk about all the white people that died in the Civil War fighting for the freedom of slaves. You can go on and on. But again, the left picks and chooses what they consider to be appropriate history. And most people, for whatever reason, swallow it down like the Kool-Aid that it is.
Yeah. Well, Johnson was an indentured servant for a while, not technically a slave, and that is he worked a particular farm in exchange for room and board and for a contract period. And at the conclusion of that contract period, they are given some compensation for their services, which help them get their start as a free individual. So they may get a small portion of land, about a year's worth of food, clothing, and tools, everything they need to start off as a free person. And he did.
So and this is going to sound crass to a point.
He
So it
was
almost like a journeyman program.
Almost. Look, he worked as a tobacco farmer for his contract while he was in indentured servitude.
I believe it's called tobacco.
Well, do you say tobacco in Boston? Is that how you Boston for?
No, we called it smokes.
Okay. And I don't know where I was going with this whole 13th Amendment thing. So I kind of went off on a tangent there. A little history lesson.
Sackhead segment.
It was a sack seg.
Yep. Sack seg. Sack seg.
Socko, we need some music for that.
Can you work on that this week?
Can you work on that? Dude, what do you have? Hang on, let me put my headphones on with my blown right speaker. That doesn't work.
All right, Sacco says give him a minute, so we'll get some sack seg music going up here. Write down sack seg, put that in the list of things that we never follow through on.
In the next state block, I want to move on. So in Hawaii, it's no secret that there has been a movement for a while that there are certain traditional Hawaiians that want to restore the Kingdom of Hawaii. They want to end U.S. presence there. They don't want the military there. They feel that the island was kind of tricked into becoming a territory and giving up its sovereignty and all of this. Well, Beijing, China is not very happy with America selling arms to Taiwan.
Weird, right?
They do not like the fact that we help them out with weapon sales, ammunition, and they're very, 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 very sensitive to that. Well, recently, the Chinese said, hey, how would you like it if we provide arms to our friends in the Hawaiian independence movement?
Really? So they're going to conduct an act of war?
Is it an act of war? If we're arming Taiwan against the Chinese, is it an act of war if they arm the Hawaiian independence movement against the American government?
I believe we had an agreement with Taiwan before they were taken back by China, though, right?
It doesn't matter, Sean.
Okay.
You're missing the point here.
I am, I guess. Tell me what the point is.
The point is, could you imagine if this actually happened?
Mm-hmm.
Because look, there are locals in Hawaii, and my family's from the islands, that are very, very serious about their independence from the United States.
I understand that.
There has been a senator from Hawaii that has introduced legislation every year he's been in office to basically authorize Hawaiians and some of the local folks there to organize their own governments and tribes, much like the American Indians do. And there's been some pushback from that from the Hawaiians because they think that the way some of those laws are written is there would be too much federal intervention, and they basically just want to be left alone. Almost like have their own reservations, their own land, not be subject to United States laws, and that sort of thing. But could you imagine if the Chinese armed the Hawaiian independent movement, and if that gained steam or they supplied troops or anything other than simply arms or munitions, and what that would do to not only one of our states, but what that would do to our strategic interests in the Pacific.
Huge attack on strategic.
Because when Hawaii first applied for statehood, there was pushback from some in Congress because they believed, hey, these people do not want to be. There could be issues here. There is a large segment of them that do not want to be a U.S. Territory or have statehood. It wasn't until Alaska was admitted as the 49th state that Hawaii was ultimately admitted as the 50th state.
Well, you needed an even number.
You need an even number for the stars on the flag. What do you think about that? Yeah, just the look on your face right now, but think about the implications of a Hawaiian independence movement armed by the Chinese if it actually rose to conflict. And Leon Su, he's a Hawaiian, and he's one of the leaders in this movement. He says, quote, "First of all, we are not native Hawaiians. We're Hawaiian nationals, and we see our country as a lawful, independent country. We're working to restore that. The bottom line is we want our country back." This individual has met with Chinese government representatives in the past.
So they're kind of like sovereign citizens in that respect.
Kind of.
Are they on watch lists?
So that's my question.
How do you approach this?
If this individual has met with Chinese government representatives and they are seeking assistance to...
Is it an insurrection?
But is it an insurrection, or is he part of a elected body of Hawaiian nationals that believe that they don't like the current government, so they have a right to